the sacred disruption, why your struggle is actually a sign from the divine. Have you ever felt like your life doesn't quite fit into the mold others live in? Like even when you try to follow the rules, something deeper inside you resists? You might call it restlessness or anxiety or even madness. But what if I told you it's none of those things? What if I told you it's one of the rare signs from God that you are a true chosen one? And I don't say that to flatter you. I say it as someone who's walked through fire, lost everything, and found truth not in temples or books, but in the raw, unfiltered experience of life itself. Because here's the secret: God doesn't choose the perfect. God chooses the prepared. And the preparation is almost always painful. It breaks you, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. You are broken open so that what's real can finally grow. The first rare sign from God is the feeling of divine isolation. This isn't regular loneliness. This is the kind of solitude where even in a crowd you feel like no one sees you. You may cry out to the universe and hear only silence, but that silence is not abandonment, it's initiation. God separates you so that no one else can define you, so that your inner compass can recalibrate without the distortion of external noise. You are being pulled out of the collective current so that you can hear the original frequency of your soul. That ache, that emptiness, it's not a void, it's a sacred womb. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. And if you're in that place now, know this: your isolation is not the end, it's the threshold. The second sign is that you start to experience unexplainable inner knowing. You just know things. You can feel people's intentions. You sense when something is off, even if everyone around you thinks it's fine. You may even feel crazy for how much you perceive. But this craziness is not insanity. It's sensitivity, encoded into your DNA for a purpose. You were never meant to walk blind. You were meant to see. But the world told you to ignore your intuition, to trust data more than your gut. And so now the divine is reactivating that inner compass. You're being recalibrated, rewired, awakened. And yes, at first it can feel overwhelming, like your skin is too thin for this world. But that's only because you're still learning how to hold your gift. And once you do, that sensitivity becomes your greatest weapon of truth. The third rare sign is chaotic life patterns. Nothing stays stable for long. Jobs end suddenly. Friendships dissolve overnight. You might feel like you're cursed, but the truth is far more powerful. You are being cleansed. God does not allow chosen ones to build on false foundations. So if everything is falling apart, it's because it was never meant to last. Your life is being pruned so that your true timeline can emerge. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's terrifying. But what if your pain is not a punishment, but a prophecy? What if every ending is actually a secret door? What if the chaos is the language of transformation? Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is trying to be born through me?" The fourth sign is the call to truth, even when it costs you everything. You find yourself unable to lie anymore, to pretend, to stay silent when something in your bones knows it's wrong. And so you lose things, relationships, jobs, communities. People call you difficult, trop intense, too sensitive. But what they don't realize is that you are not being difficult, you are being activated. The chosen ones are truth bearers. They carry keys in their voice, codes in their presence. And sometimes that truth will cut, it will disrupt. But that's what it's meant to do. You are not here to play it safe. You are here to break the spell. And the truth is, your sword. So if you've lost people because you couldn't pretend anymore, know this: you didn't lose them. You freed yourself. The fifth rare sign is synchronicity overload. You start seeing repeating numbers, animals, dreams, symbols. The same message comes through different people. You think of someone, and they call. You hear a voice in your sleep, and the next day, a stranger repeats the exact phrase. This is not coincidence. This is divine orchestration. It's the language of spirit when you're finally tuned in. God is not just in the sky. God is in the pattern, in the rhythm, in the design. And when you begin to align with your soul, you align with the entire web of consciousness. You become a node of divine intelligence, and the universe begins to respond. These signs aren't just cute affirmations. They are instructions. Are you listening? The sixth sign is heightened emotional intensity. You feel everything deeper than most. A sunset can make you cry. A stranger's pain feels like your own. You've probably been told you're too emotional, too dramatic. But what if that's not a flaw? What if it's your superpower? The chosen ones are emotional conduits. You carry the grief of generations, the love of lifetimes. And until you learn to channel it, it can crush you. But once you do, it becomes a river of divine movement. Your tears become prayers. Your rage becomes protection. Your joy becomes medicine. So don't numb it. Don't suppress it. Feel it all. Because in feeling deeply, you heal completely. And in healing, you lead. The seventh sign is a relentless calling that makes no sense. You don't know why, but you've always felt there's something you're meant to do. Something big, something sacred. You may not have the words for it. You may not even believe it fully, but it's there, like a whisper, like a hunger, like a compass buried in your chest. And no matter how many times you try to silence it, it returns, louder, clearer. This is the divine seed, planted before you were born, watered through every challenge you faced. And now it's beginning to rise. You don't need to know the full path. You just need to say yes to the next step. Because every chosen one begins not with clarity, but with surrender. And now I ask you, with total sincerity, what if none of your suffering was random? What if every heartbreak, every delay, every unwanted detour was a sacred breadcrumb? What if God has been speaking to you all along and you just didn't know how to listen? This is the moment where everything can shift, if you're willing to stop doubting and start remembering. Because these 7 signs aren't signs of madness, they're signs of mission. And you wouldn't be hearing this now if you weren't ready to activate it. In the next part, we go deeper into what happens after you recognize the signs, from spiritual warfare to energy mastery to divine timing. You'll learn how to protect your frequency, walk with clarity, and become the version of yourself that no longer waits for permission. This is where the real journey begins. The divine resistance, why your struggles multiply after you're chosen, and how to transcend them. So many people think that once you realize you're chosen, life should suddenly become easier. You expect clarity, flow, spiritual gifts unfolding like petals in the sun. But here's the raw, often hidden truth. Once the calling is activated, the resistance intensifies. Why? Because the moment you agree on a soul level to become what God designed you to be, everything inside you and around you that isn't aligned with your divine blueprint will rise in rebellion. Not because you're cursed, but because you're finally vibrating high enough to flush out the false. This is not punishment. This is purification. You're not under spiritual attack, you're under spiritual refinement. And the fire that surrounds you is the same fire that forges kings, queens, prophets, healers, and creators of worlds. One of the first forms of divine resistance is inner sabotage. Suddenly, old fears return with new voices. You're not ready. Who do you think you are? You're too damaged, too late, too much. These voices are not random. They are echoes of your unhealed past. They are the guardians at the gate of your purpose. And here's the key. They don't show up when you're off path. They show up when you're close. The enemy doesn't need to attack a life with no threat to darkness. But you've become a lighthouse, a disruptor, a walking prayer. And so now the battlefield is within. But don't fear it. Observe it. Speak to it. Ask yourself, what part of me is still afraid of my own greatness? Because in that answer is your next breakthrough. Then comes the outer resistance. People you love may suddenly become uncomfortable around you. Friends pull away. Family members don't understand. You may even feel rejected by the very communities you once found comfort in. But here's the wisdom buried in the pain. Your identity is being upgraded, and not everyone can follow where your soul is leading. The version of you that fit into their world is dissolving. You are being called into a frequency that demands sacred solitude, not forever, but for now, because your connection to the divine must become stronger than your need for external validation. You are being rewired to hear God first. And until you stabilize in that frequency, others will feel like static. Let them go in love. Trust that those meant to walk with your higher self will appear when you no longer betray it. Another form of resistance is delay. You say yes to your calling, and then nothing happens. No signs, no miracles, just silence, stillness, maybe even setbacks. And you start to question if you made it all up. But what if the delay is not denial, it's development? What if the time between the calling and the manifestation is the most sacred time of all? This is when your faith is forged, your character is shaped, your ego is dismantled. Because the truth is, God isn't just preparing your blessing, God is preparing you to carry it. And that takes time. So don't curse the waiting, don't numb it, be in it. Ask, who am I becoming while I wait? Because that version of you is the one who can hold the miracle without breaking under the weight. Then there's the resistance of spiritual fatigue. You awaken, you heal, you grow, and then out of nowhere, you crash. You feel disconnected, numb, confused. You might even lose interest in the very practices that once brought you peace. But this isn't the end. It's integration. The nervous system can only hold so much new light at once. And when you've had too many upgrades too fast, your body pulls the brakes. It's not regression, it's recalibration. This is your soul digesting truth. Let it rest. Let it breathe. Do not panic when the fire dims. Trust that the flame is still alive. Sometimes, the most sacred growth happens when you feel nothing at all. Because it's not about how much you feel, it's about how deep you trust. One of the most subtle and dangerous forms of resistance is spiritual comparison. You look at others online or in your circle and think, they're more awakened than me. They've got it figured out. I'm behind. But here's what you must remember. The path of the chosen is never linear. You are not late. You are not less. You are not lacking. Your journey is perfectly sequenced for your soul's unique medicine. And often the ones with the most hidden wounds carry the most potent light. So stop measuring your worth by someone else's chapter. Your timeline is divine. And your delays, your dips, your detours, they're part of a design far more intelligent than your mind can comprehend. Trust your unfolding. God doesn't waste a single second of your pain. Finally, the most powerful resistance is the one that comes right before your breakthrough. Everything gets louder. The fear, the doubt, te-chows, the temptation to quit. And it's in that moment right there that most people walk away. But not you. You didn't come this far to stop now. The storm is not a sign of failure. It's a signal of birth. You are crowning. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's dark. But you are birthing a new version of yourself. A version that doesn't need approval or applause. A version that walks with God, not just on Sundays, but in every breath. So breathe, push, pray, cry, but don't retreat. Because the version of you on the other side of this resistance, that's the one who was chosen, not the one who started, the one who refused to stop. Now I ask you, what are you still resisting that your soul is ready to surrender to? What would happen if you stopped fighting the fire and started walking through it with faith? Because the truth is, the resistance is not your enemy, it's your refiner. It's the space where your ego dies and your destiny is born. And if you can learn to dance with it, you will become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you become unshakable. In the next part, we'll explore how to embody your chosenness. You'll learn how to anchor your divine identity into your daily life, protect your energy from distortion, and walk in purpose without burnout, fear, or self-betrayal. This is where the chosen become warriors of light. The embodied chosen one, how to walk in divine power without losing yourself. So you've recognized the signs. You've been through the fire. You've faced the resistance. But now comes the real challenge. Not awakening, not surviving, but embodying. Because being chosen isn't just a spiritual idea, it's a way of life. It's how you move through the world when no one is watching. How you speak to the parts of yourself that are still healing. How you carry divine power without using it to control, impress, or dominate. The true chosen ones don't wear their calling like a crown, they wear it like a cross. Not because it's heavy, but because it's sacred. And when you understand that being chosen means walking through the world with unshakable integrity, everything begins to align, not instantly, but authentically. The first step in embodiment is identity alignment. You must stop calling yourself broken when God calls you chosen. You must stop living according to old stories that no longer serve the frequency of your soul. Identity is not just what you think, it's what you embody. Every time you shrink your truth to make others comfortable, every time you betray your intuition to keep the peace, you step out of alignment. And alignment is everything. Not perfection, not performance, but the daily practice of being who you actually are. Even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you, even when no one claps. Because when your inner truth matches your outer expression, you become a vessel that cannot be shaken. Not by opinions, not by fear, not even by failure. Next comes spiritual discipline. Not dogma, not routine, but sacred devotion. Chosen ones don't wait to feel inspired. They train their spirit like an athlete trains their body. That means daily practices that keep your channel clear. Breathwork, meditation, prayer, movement, stillness, time in nature, time in silence. Not because it's trendy, but because your mission requires clarity. You can't pour clean water through a dirty vessel. So clean your vessel, not to earn worthiness, you're already worthy, but to sharpen your ability to receive and embody divine intelligence. Don't just study spirit, become a student of your own soul. The more disciplined your energy, the more consistent your power. And true power isn't loud, it's anchored. Another key to walking as a chosen one is emotional sovereignty. You must stop outsourcing your peace. Stop giving other people the power to dictate your mood, your worth, your direction. The world will test you. People will misunderstand you, but your peace must be non-negotiable. That means feeling your emotions fully, without letting them run your life. It means learning to sit with discomfort and ask, what are you here to teach me? Instead of numbing or reacting. Emotional mastery isn't about suppression, it's about presence. About being so rooted in your divine self that no storm can pull you from center. You don't get tossed around by every trigger. You observe, you feel, you respond, like a mountain that knows the wind cannot move it. Then there is the mastery of energy protection. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Your energy is sacred real estate. Not everyone deserves access, and saying no is not unkind, it's holy. You must learn to discern who feeds your field and who drains it, who expands your vision and who clips your wings. As a chosen one, your energy is a magnet. People will be drawn to your light, but not all of them come with pure intentions. Some will seek to extract, some will seek to copy, some will simply project their unhealed pain onto you. That's why you need spiritual hygiene, energetic clearing, grounding, strong boundaries, and trusted community. Protect your frequency like your life depends on it, because it does. Another layer of embodiment is divine service. Not service rooted in guilt or obligation, but overflow. You don't serve to prove your worth. You serve because your cup is full and your presence is potent. You walk into a room and it shifts. You speak, and people remember who they are. But service doesn't always look like preaching or healing. Sometimes it's listening. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's creating, resting, dancing, or simply being fully you. The chosen ones don't force transformation, they transmit it. Through their energy, their honesty, their embodiment. So don't worry about having the perfect mission statement. Your real mission is to become such a clear expression of truth that others wake up by simply being near you. And finally, the deepest embodiment is radical trust in divine timing. You no longer rush. You no longer chase. You no longer grasp. You understand that when God says not yet, it's never rejection, it's protection. You begin to trust the pauses. You lean into the unknown. You stop micromanaging your destiny and start surrendering to the orchestration of grace. When things don't make sense, you don't spiral, you listen deeper. When doors close, you don't panic, you pivot with peace. Because you've walked through enough to know that delay is not defeat. That silence is not abandonment. That rejection is often redirection towards something far more aligned. And so you move slower, but with more certainty. Less noise, more knowing. You no longer live in reaction. You live in reverence. So let me ask you, from the deepest part of my soul to yours, what would your life look like if you stopped trying to be worthy and simply accepted that you already are? What would change if you stopped waiting to be chosen and started choosing yourself every single day? Because embodiment is not a title. It's not a performance. It's a frequency. And when you carry it, the world can't help but respond. Not because you demanded attention, but because your presence became undeniable. That's what the world needs now. Not more noise, not more gurus, but more souls who are fully alive, fully aligned, and fully surrendered. This is the final part of this journey, but it's only the beginning of yours.